100% believe that a lot of Republican American Christians would have absolutely hated Jesus if he was around today. The Good Samaritan of back then would have been the good Muslim of today. The Mary Magdalene washing Jesus's feet would have been a Mexican immigrant, an illegal one. Yeah. The prostitutes that he hung out with would have been transgender people. That man made it his mission to go to the most cast aside members of society and show them that they have a place with him. Oh, y'all, I'm telling you, they would have hated him. Oh, they would have hated him so bad. That man would have fed the 5,000 and they would have called him a socialist. Oh my God. What, Jesus? You don't want them to pull themselves up by their bootstraps? Are you crazy? Constantly being disgusted by and turning away anybody who doesn't look and act just like you. Yeah, that's not, you would have hated Jesus. You would have hated that man for sure. I remember growing up as a Christian and I had this one church leader. I'm not going to say, like, I would not say that this man is like a bad person or anything. I would just say that like his views are a little interesting, right? Because I remember him telling me when I was younger that he does not like to give homeless people money. I remember asking why. And he said, it's because when you give them money, they're not going to know what to do with it. They're going to spend it on things, on like bad things, like essentially, right? But then a little bit later in life, I remember going to that same person and talking about like ranting about the fact that it just bothers me so much that rich people have they have such a plethora, they have so much and they can see so many people suffering and they would not be like, let me just take from this and just serve them, right? And this same man looked at me and said, I do not like to tell people what to do with the money that God has given them. Really? Because you see, when we were wallet watching the poor, that was acceptable. That was fine as a Christian. But doing the same to the rich, doing the same to the powerful, that's wrong. That's where we draw the line. See, in the Bible, Jesus had a lot of story examples. He had a lot of parables, right? And there was this one specific one where he talked about a poor widow and how she had almost nothing. She had almost no money left to her name. She had just two copper coins or whatever, right? Even knowing that she had nothing, she gave all of it, all of her nothing, to Jesus, right? She's just like, I'm just gonna give this all, right? She's giving more than even the richest people would. She had nothing, but she still gave it up to Jesus. If that man had been around and had given that message today, they would have called him a socialist. They would have called him a communist. They would have called that man everything but his name. It reminds me a lot of my mom growing up. My mom, I feel like, had that very big, like, generous Christian love where we were not rich, you know? We lived in I know you're going to see this and you're going to be, you didn't have to say that. It's fine. We lived in a smaller house, right? And any family member, family friend was coming from out of town. She was like, don't you dare spend your money at a hotel, even though I have this little space. It is for you. I will cook for you. You have the bed. Me and my kids will sleep on the floor, which was annoying, but we would do it. You know, she had this whole entire thing. Like that was the example. That was a Christian example my mother set for me. I grew up and I went to college and I went to a Republican American Christian church, you know. Republican first, American next, Christian last. That church, that kind of church, right? There was an international student that was attending there, and that student had run into some financial problems, and they needed some place to stay. So they had some friends, stayed with those friends, but some of the members in the church were concerned about the legality of subletting or whatever. Just need to have this as a background. Multiple members of this church had spare bedrooms. Multiple. Lots of them had houses with spare bedrooms. And the church also had a spare house for whenever visitors came to town. Yes? Okay, so keep all of that in mind. This international student who was an avid member of that church, who was constantly helping, constantly putting their time in to help grow this church. They sat the student down and instead of offering their place, instead of offering assistance, they said, maybe these troubles you're having are God's way of telling you that you should go back to your country. That is that Republican American Christian love right there. My mother would sooner die before she let something like that happen. I have a governor heavily supported by the Republican American Christians who will just put into place a law that says that homeless people do not have the right to be sleeping in public spaces overnight. So they would be criminalized as homeless people for sleeping in public spaces overnight. And Republican American Christians would say, this is good. This is exactly what God would want me to support. This is what Jesus would want to happen. That is what they would tell me. Are you insane? Making a point to constantly demonize the poor, to constantly demonize the people who are the most ostracized from society, whilst also exalting the rich, exalting the most powerful, those who take the most advantage of society, those who the Bible warned me against. Not the kind of Christianity I want to support. Loving my neighbor with my whole heart and soul, That's the kind of Christianity I want. The kind of Christianity that others who are ostracized from society and ostracized from their own Christian churches feel comfortable coming to me about different things going on in their lives. That's the kind of Christian I want to be. Let me give you a quick definition of the modern day Pharisee. A modern day Pharisee is someone who follows the impulse to be seen as righteous by obeying certain laws while ignoring more important matters of the heart. Do you see that in yourself? Do you only surround yourself as a Christian with people who look like, act like, and think like you? Well, you still have time to be better. You still have time to change. Do with that what you will. Bye.